Okay, I got my mom's car here that the water pump is going out on. So today I will be getting down in here at the water pump right there. Because the water pump's making so much noise, I'm sure it's going to go out here pretty soon. And Dylan hopefully will be out here with me shortly. Okay, so what I'm seeing is right there is the crank pulley and all that wetness right there. That's from the water pump. So her water pump is definitely going out. And the whole thing I got to do is get down in there and get that water pump out of there. So I'm going to start with taking the belt off, or disconnecting the bolts on the on the pulley there for the water pump, then take the belt off. Okay, so now I got the bolts loose on the water pump gear. So this here's a 15 millimeter socket on the tensioner, belt tensioner. The water pump is the 8 millimeter on the bolts, but now I got to find me an extension for that ratchet so I can loosen that tensioner. Working out of somebody else's tools can be a little fun, trying to find the correct sockets and stuff. It's not like working out of my house, but hopefully she has all the tools I need. But anyway, I'm got to find an extension to put on that ratchet so I can loosen the belt. Okay, so next thing I got to do is this bolt right behind the power steering pump. I need to get that one. I've got all the other ones loose. That's why all the antifreeze is kind of leaked out, which is no big deal. I got it all cleaned up on the floor. But I understand there's two bolts that are holding the power steering pump on. What I'm going to do is take out the top bolt of the power steering, and directly down is the second bolt. Hopefully I can just loosen it and tilt the power steering back to get that other water pump bolt out. But like I say, I got them all out except for that one. Okay, so I just loosened or took out the top bolt on the power steering pump, loosened the bottom one, and I was able to tilt the power steering pump back so we could get that one bolt on the water pump. So now we're going to take out all of the bolts and get the water pump out. Okay, as you can see, that's all the noise that we were hearing in my mom's car. And it does have a little bit of leakage going on down here. But what we're going to do is run down and get one of these, the gasket maker, clean up the, you can get a shot inside there. Now we got to clean up the face of the block there where the water pump hooks onto, and put it all back together, and we should be good to go. Okay, so here we are with the old pump, and then here we are with the new pump. You can see not free spinning, so we definitely know the water pump was the problem. Put on some gasket maker. Oops. Before we put on this guy, so I'm going to let it set for a minute so it'll be nice and tacky. And one more thing to do on your bolts is to run a nut across them with a wire brush to kind of clean everything up so it'll all go back together real nice and easy. As you can see here, this one here, like this one here, how it's all kind of corroded. But if you run a nut across them, you can get them all nice and clean like that. So finish up cleaning up the bolts, put the gasket on the water pump here, and then we'll start putting the water pump back together. Okay, so now I got the water pump in. One thing you want to make sure you do when you put it in is do not tighten any bolts until you have them all in. Anything with more than 2-3 bolts in it, you always want to wait before tightening. Get them all in and then tighten. So now I'm going to tighten up all the bolts on the water pump, and here we go. Okay, so water pump is all tightened back. Power steering, I've got it all tightened back. As you can see, that bolt right there for the water pump is behind the power steering pulley. But I've got all those tightened back up. Now, one thing I want to do is clean out the pulley here. For some reason, it's got a lot of rubber in there. But looking at my belt, I'm thinking somebody must have replaced the belt, because I don't see anything missing like it is inside that pulley. So anyway, I'm going to clean that pulley up. Check the other pulleys, make sure I don't have a lot of debris all in those. Put the belt back on. Check the antifreeze and fire this puppy up. Okay, so now I got the pulley back on the water pump right here. So I'm going to put the belt on now. Sometimes these can be a maze. There's no direction here on the car for it, but I'm pretty sure I know how to do it. But I'll get the pulley on, grab hold of the tensioner here, and get it around here, and we'll get it started. Okay, so now I got the belt back on. I tightened up all the little bolts on the water pump pulley deal there. The belt's on. This here is the diagram of the belt on how it goes on. If you don't put it on, you're going to go, wow, this belt's too big now. Anyway, once it's all wrapped around, and do it with that tensioner there. This here is actually the last part I put on. Put the tensioner on, pulled it really hard so I can get it up and over this one, and let it loose, and we're all together. So now, to check the fluids, because I know this one here is a little bit low, and I'm going to start her up. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what we got. Oh, look at there. Don't have all that noise. This is great. The belt's all turning, everything looks good. AC. All right. Looks like a job well done. Okay, well, I hope this video helps some of you out on replacing the water pump. I always try to make things easy. There was a short video. There was really no hassles doing this. Realistically, if I had the parts and my tools instead of my sister's tools, I could have probably had this done in probably 2 hours. But it's a real simple thing to replace the water pump. No big deals. Hey, enjoy.